bringing the culture to track and field.
And this is Track Girl Summer. Track Girl Summer.
You know the deal. Follow me, follow Kori, Twitter, IG, Facebook, all the things. Natasha Hastings, the Kori Monster. Also follow World's Greatest on Twitter and IG and YouTube.
And Track Girl Summer, don't forget to follow.
And Track Girl Summer. Follow Track Girl Summer on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. What are we up to? Like 1,200 followers on Instagram?
You can check now. Keep going.
Keep it going. Keep it going. The merch is on the way. So keep supporting us. We appreciate it. You know Kori's favorite line. Support a Black sister. Slide into the. We ain't got a Track Girls Cash Venmo. Track Summer.
I can make it. If
but
y'all
anyway,
y'all want it, I can make it.
We have another exciting show lined up today. I mean, every day seems to get better and better. I don't know. We tied, but
I'm not. Like,
we just keep bringing the fire. So it's like we just keep going.
We're not sleeping, we're not eating, but I'm running off of pure adrenaline, and I'm fine with that.
That's totally fine. So today, I'm skipping a line. We're here every day, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard. We're here for the shenanigans. We're here for the Tokyo talk, what's going on in the village, what's going on at the track. And then we're bringing the legends to you. We just gonna call it that because it's just been nothing but gems and jewels. Everyday excellence is the standard.
Who do we have on today?
Today we will be joined by. Why you rushing things?
I can't. I'm excited.
Let me do my thing here. Okay, we got some things to cover. Today we're going to be covering this morning and last night's action on the track. Some controversy with our girl Raven Saunders. Is her medal in jeopardy?
Free my dog Raven.
But then during our Hustle Clean medal prediction portion of the show, we will be joined by two amazing people. I kind of feel left out because
it's a
400-meter hurdle party, but 400-meter hurdles is the show this Olympic Games, men and women. But we'll be joined by Michael Tinsley and living legend himself, Edwin Moses. We're going to get into some things because both of these men have incredible histories, incredible stories. We learned some things about Mr. Moses. We have a lot to be grateful for to Mr. Moses, but we're going to get into the tea. So without further ado, let's get into things. Let's get into the program. Remember, any tweets that go up on the screen, you got to click those if there's a play option.
And right now, we start the show with a fit check. Guys, I come to you humbly. And I'm going to let you know, today we're not wearing a sneaker. I decided to be a grown-up with Tasha. I said, let me get my auntie on and give you boots. No fur. Boots. Little, clueless moment. I love a two-piece. Crop top. Just a sliver.
Just a slither.
Of the abdominals, because they're going away because I ain't training like that.
Just a little
but a little blue.
And I'm casual auntie. I'm
giving us shower shoulder.
I'm giving you shoulder pads today. A little tee tucked into some jeans, just some regular old jeans, nothing special, and a little.
Show them the earrings. Get in the camera.
Oh.
And it's the coordination for me. Mm-hmm. Match the earrings to the shirt.
A little highlight.
Well, we got the lip.
War Paint 400-meter diva. Click that link down below. Everything's 35% off right now. Lashes, lash glue, all the things you need, child.
Someone said my boots were giving Mary J. Blige, and I thank you. So let's get into these predictions.
Let's
review.
Get into it.
I had Mike Powell on my team helping me make my picks. You had Gail Devers helping me figure out these 100 hurdle picks. We both said we thought that Jasmine Camacho Quinn was going to take the win. She looked good. Like Gail said, you look in the eyes.
I look in the eyes as well.
To see who's good. And she just said, I'm winning this thing.
It was definitely hers to lose. We thought she was going to try to threaten that world record.
Yeah.
But she leaves with the Olympic record.
Yes. And at the end of the day, records get broken. Medals cannot get taken away from you.
Yeah. My high school coach used to always tell me, go for the win first, the record will happen. So
Yeah.
she took care of business.
Yeah, and you had two Kentucky girls on the podium.
That's right. Kenny can tell.
That Kenny and Jasmine need to train together, and it's kind of interesting. It's like Kenny kind of mentored Jasmine. You kind of see the young Padawan passing the master, and so.
Sorry, one of our guests. Sorry.
Yes. So,
but we busted. Well, me and Gail kind of busted our predictions. My mom was the one who called out while we were doing the predictions.
She said Tapper.
She said Tapper, and Tapper tapped her way into that third spot. Kenny Harrison. We were talking about the eyes. She wasn't giving it to me in the first round, but she proved me wrong. We said that we wanted to prove us wrong. So
yeah,
happy to see her snatch that silver.
Yeah, and I think she's finally getting over. Like I feel like she's not known for being a championship runner, and she is definitely taking the time to work on that aspect of her mental game and show up when it really matters. So, congratulations to Puerto Rico, USA.
I'm still claiming Puerto Rico. They're U.S. territory.
Facts.
Team USA.
And Jamaica.
And Jamaica. I'm claiming all of them.
So that was a good race.
It was a good race.
Kenny and Jasmine were out together, and then Jasmine just said, "No,
not today.
It's about me," and she just took off. So that was it. I love the hurdles, whether it's long. So,
and we gotta give mention to Anderson because she was in the mix until she hit a hurdle.
Yeah, and that's the issue with the hurdles is like you have your picks and you think everything's going well, but you have to get over 10 hurdles.
Right.
And those hurdles, especially when you're going fast,
that's why they call them the barriers.
They pop up on you, and all of a sudden you're like, "Wait, what's happening?" Especially when you're moving so fast.
Yeah.
You're either gonna crash and burn or run the best race of your life.
That was one of the things that I was hoping to talk to Gail about yesterday, but she'll be back.
She'll be back.
Maintaining that speed in between those hurdles. It's truly a coordination, control, art, all the things.
Yes. And then we were trash.
We were totally busted the long jump predictions.
And I had Mike Powell helping me out, and
Mike, we wasn't far off. Tinsley did the upset, came in with the last jump to take the lead.
We both thought Echevarria
was had Echevarria.
But it looked like he had a hamstring issue.
It looked like he was having some sort of issue.
But he still got, with his issues, got silver.
Yeah.
So,
Harrison had a good day as well. I mean, he didn't make it on the podium, but he was in third place at one point.
He just had a hard time getting
on the board. And so again, Mike Powell broke it down.
Did you notice that little he does this little drop step into his penultimate step? It's like he's running, and then he kind of dips down and then gets he does a little stutter step.
Yeah.
But Mike wasn't lying. He does have bounce. And I was watching him. I was like, Mike was also right. He does need more speed. And I think once he puts that together,
he's gonna be dangerous.
Because he popped up on them.
Yeah.
So shout out to Javon for coming back from
a long collegiate season
and coming back from the high jump.
The high jump. It's what did they say? It's been 106 years since that's been done. So
yeah. Amazing, just talented athlete. Say his name because I can't agree.
I don't know if I'm saying it right.
And honestly, Echevarria, they both jumped 8:41.
Yeah.
But it comes down to the tie break, which is the second longest.
The next best jump.
Next best jump.
Right.
And Tinsley also popped that off in the last round. So it's pressure situation. He did it in his last attempt. Amazing. And then
it was exciting to watch the long jump final.
Yeah, and then Masso from Cuba with 8:21 got third. Speaking of tiebreakers, I wanted to bring something up. And our producers, it's underneath men's high jump, no jump off. Because if you are a track head, you follow track and field, and you're on Twitter, Kostas comes with all of the facts, the the
Man, that when you showed me that tweet, I was like, he is always tweeting. He's
yes,
always
Kosa
up
always
on
has
the business.
and he always has all of the statistics. And so he was saying that basically there should not have been a dual gold medal in the high jump because the rules state that you can have the same place for any place other than first, and it requires a jump off. So you know me, I had to go into the official.
Read those rules.
I went to the official IAAF handbook, and according to he was wondering how is it that we didn't have a jump off for gold. According to the rules, if before the competition, the meet decides we're not going to do any jump offs, or if the official decides we're not going to be doing any jump offs, or if the athletes decide, hey, I want to take my gold, you're going to take your gold, we can go home, there's not going to be a jump off. You can have 2 first place in high jump. So that's, I don't know which of the 3
don't know which one
it was, but that is why there was no jump off in the men's high jump, and then we just had 2 golds and 1 bronze, no silver.
What do you think you would do? Would you go for the jump off, or?
I always bet on me, so I would jump it off. Is that I like to jump it off?
Yeah,
but I understand like also being like that's a risk. You can be like, hey, I can walk off and be a gold medalist, or say I can be the sole gold medalist. Yeah. But when people introduce you, they're not going to call you a co-gold medalist. They're just going to call you Olympic gold medalist.
Right.
Period.
And then I wonder if being tired factored into it, because it's not only a physical exertion, but it's the emotional exertion of being there as well. So I wonder,
and they like each other too.
Yeah, so I wonder what went into that decision, whether it was them who decided, hey, we're just going to share this thing, keep it pushing, or if the decision was made before the event.
Yeah, so speaking of medals, let's get into Raven Saunders.
Okay, so Raven Saunders had an amazing performance at the games. She put on a performance, not just competitively, but she got the people involved, wore the mask,
wore the buns.
Okay,
so you're gonna get those cheeks.
Had a great day, just enjoyed her experience. Yes. But also was there to make a statement for mental health, the LGBTQIA plus, I didn't mess that up, community, Black Lives Matter. And she made a statement on the podium. And leading into the games, it was decided that athletes would be allowed to use their platform to protest. However, the IOC still maintained that no demonstrations were allowed on the podium.
So break that down. So the USOC, which is the United States.
The IOC
did the IOC?
As well.
Oh, okay.
The IOC said that athletes would be allowed to, state their, voice their issues or their concerns about whatever it is that they wanted to protest. They just maintained that the podium was a protest-free space, if you will.
But I feel like
so where else are you going to make the statement, right?
Exactly.
That's the IOC's way of saying, yeah, you can do it, but not really.
Like stay in your lane,
basically.
And it's like it's Natasha, you brought up a great point. It's not really a protest if you're asking permission.
Right. So last year, we had a town hall call with the USOPC, in which the athletes were basically asking for the permission to protest. And I think to credit Raven for going ahead and doing this, regardless of what the IOC stated. I think if the cause means that much to you, you're not going to ask for permission. You're going to voice your concerns and use your platform in the way that you feel best suits you, best suits getting your message across. In her post-shot interview, she told Lewis that she wanted to be a beacon for those that she relates to and identifies with, to see her in the space and see her using her voice. And she did just that. But you don't have to ask permission for that.
And I also think that the podium is a powerful statement. Like when we think about Olympic protests, we think about the 1968, Tommy Smith. And they did it on the podium. And you see the power that they had. And you say, okay, do it anywhere else. But the one place where that message.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
You know where that message is going to get across and it hits different when it's on the podium. especially it's like kind of the juxtaposition of your national anthem playing, but you're saying, hey, even though my national anthem's playing,
yeah,
I need to stand up for people in my country. And as athletes, as Olympic athletes, we're expected to be representatives of our countries, and that sometimes means criticizing the oppression that's in our country.
Yeah, I think the part that I feel often gets left out of Tommy Smith and John Carlos's story, and I'm forgetting the Aussie's name, Peter Norman. They were kicked. Peter Norman actually took part in that protest as well. Tommy Smith, and John Carlos were kicked out of the village. Their medals were taken away from them.
Lost their wife, lost their money.
Peter Norman was ostracized by Australia, but the cause meant that much to them that they were willing to make that sacrifice. Now, those things have all been reinstated to them now, but they accepted those consequences because it meant that much to them. So that's kind of where I'm like, if you about it, be about it. Don't ask for no permission. And that to me is what makes their statement even more powerful, right? They were willing to.
There was no guarantee that they weren't embraced as the heroes that they are today. We have to remember that, because we like to rewrite history and be like, oh, this was so like at the time they came back disgraced athletes with an asterisk next to their name.
Because remember, if you're protesting, you're probably on the unpopular side of things. So most people aren't necessarily going to agree or understand.
So they're challenging the status quo.
Exactly. So Raven was quoted as saying, and I love this about her, "Let them try and take this medal. I'm running across the border. Even though I can't swim, girl, I feel you. I can't swim either, but I'll try and save you out there." And we stand with you, Raven.
Yeah, I was literally about to say that. So it's very clear, you guys. To the racist people who are trolling and tweeting terrible things to Raven's honors, every day I find a reason to fight someone. Today, this is my cause. If you have a problem with Raven, pull up to me. I'll be tweeting out my address, and we can get it popping. That's all. Raven, we stand with you, and the USOPC has also put out a statement saying they will not sanction Raven, and they stand by Raven as well. 2 claps. We gotta work on that. We're gonna get you together. We're gonna get you on beat. What did we forget? Oh, I am thirsty. I'm just Guys, you guys already know strawberry vanilla. It's time to Olipop pop it. We were getting into the tea and forgot to get.
The tea was so hot. Don't worry. Don't worry.
It Olipop popping, but let's pay our bills. There we go. Great pour. Anyways, the other story that came out from yesterday was Korir, K-O-R-I-R. Kori with an R. He was disqualified from the men's 400 semi after a false start, and that actually might work to his benefit because he also is competing in the 800. And so there is some speculation. Like, it looked like a pure false start to me. Looked like he just kind of made a mistake. But some people are saying that he might have
been a good actor and
violated the honest effort rule. So if you don't know what the honest effort rule, it is. Any athlete declared to compete in an event must honestly participate in each round. So you can't just all-star or jog a race. If you have another event later and you're like, oh, I need to save up my energy for the race that I'm actually good at, I need to take a sip because I'm getting a little frog in my throat.
Olipop it.
Yeah, and so you have to honestly participate. And he might have said, you know what, it's looking like it's not going to happen in the 4. Maybe I should
have a better shot in the 8.
Yeah. And we're not saying that's what he did. We're just saying that there's
speculation.
There's some talk about that.
I'm going to say, as an athlete, I understand why the rule exists, but I also understand making that choice of
why does the rule exist?
Because you're essentially taking the spot of someone else who could have been there.
Yes.
So,
But I kind of feel like, on the other hand, it's like, it's my spot. I can do it. It's my place. I can do it what I want.
That you said it better than I was about to say it. So I I always, maybe I'm the Gemini because I always see things
That's a
from
Libra.
both. Oh, is that the Libra?
Mhm.
Okay. Maybe I have a Libra moon or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I always try to see things from both sides. So I understand why the rule exists. But I can also understand if if it is in fact what he did, because we don't know for sure if
I get
that
it.
was the thing. I get it.
All right, we have 10 minutes before our special guest comes on.
I'm
So
gonna start off with the women's 5K.
yes, I do.
'Cause,
Hassan.
boy.
Hassan. Okay, so the race actually, like, it didn't really spring out at the bell lap. There were still 5 women like going for it in a pack, and Hassan was basically the whole time hunting from the back, conserving her energy, staying with the top group. But with 2:05 to go, she said, "I'm sorry, y'all. I gotta go get my medal. Deuces."
I think, but let's set it up a little bit. Safan is going after the 15, 5K, 10K.
And we're gonna talk about her 15
I don't think
later.
this triple has ever been done.
Because
it?
why?
Because it's nuts.
That's a marathon. Because you also have rounds the 15
morning. Yep.
So she kept looking back at like 150 to go, and then it was just like, no, she took off from these girls. They were, I would say it was a good at least 15-meter lead.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, this also came after her 15 prelim.
Was it the round or semi? One of them.
It was
another race.
It was a prelim.
She's busy this week.
And basically what happened in this prelim is, like, obviously she's doing a lot of races. She wants to conserve energy. She fell in her heat.
At about 250 to go, she fell.
It was going into the final lap.
No, it was only a 200 that she ran back on. It wasn't a whole lap.
It was like, I would say it was more like a 350 to go. You can ask your mom, but the point of the matter is she fell, and she had to work her way back to the front of the pack in order to make sure she qualified. And the fact that she caught everyone
and was still measured about it. Like, imagine,
because she was looking over to make sure, like, okay, let me check. I have to be in top 6. It looked like she was like, and then she said, forget counting. I'll just gonna clearly win this race.
But I think, like, to be clear about, like, I don't know about you, I'm sure you can relate. Like, to stop completely and have to start again is like the most painful thing ever. Yes, and I know apples to oranges, sprints to distance run, but this girl was on the ground, okay? On the ground in the final lap when the rest of the field is pushing it. And she not only got back up, but she ran every last one of them down.
And did you see her after the race? She goes, okay. Like, no problem. It is what it is. Not a big deal.
Didn't want to do that, because you can also see the strategy of it all too, right? Like, she knows she's going after this triple.
Like, she's got
to be strategic about getting through these rounds, and
that's obviously not how she wanted to run the last. Right. But she just kind of pulled away from this girl, and you can see just how superior she is when it comes to this event. Also in the 1500, all 3 Americans are through. Eleanor Pure St. Pierre, Heather McLean, and also my girl Kori McGee had me a little nervous. Because I love a big Q. Like, don't stress me out. Just go get a big Q for me. But she made it through on time. Shout out to the Florida Gator. You want to talk about this men's 400 semi?
Yeah. So, interesting 400 semi. We got Cherry and Norman through to the final. Neither one won their heats, but I believe they're all through on the big Qs. Sorry, this was last night. We didn't take notes, but we just most surprising, or was it this morning? It was this, I don't know. The days, I don't know. Wait, no, the most surprising thing to me was we're not going to have the world record holder in the final. No Van Niekerk.
Which is insane to me.
Insane. But we know that he's been having, like, a troubling time getting back into form after his knee surgery. And so I I saw a couple of his races this year, and I was wondering, like, is he going to be able to, going to be ready to go?
Yeah.
But what was also exciting to see is Karani James is coming back into form,
which makes me so happy. I am a Karani James fan. I really am, and to see him like just put it together when it matters.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see him do well.
Another one that's coming back from, I think he was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And so having to work through that and figuring out, training at this level while your body is basically fighting itself, and to come back from that. However he finishes in the final on Thursday, is it? We're still like, however he finishes in that final, I mean, he looks like he's in medal contention, though.
Yeah, for sure.
So good to see him back and coming back into form. Gardner also looks good. So it's rounding up to be a good 400 competitive 400 final. But both of our Americans looked comfortable, did what they needed to do to get to the next round, and that's really all they needed to do.
And then in the women's 400, and hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
My mom's in the chat. Can you check to see if our next guest is if Edwin's here? And while we do that, I'm going to talk about the women's 400 sim. All three of the Americans were through, looked like a comfortable race for actually all of them. I'm so happy that Anna Krochel made the final.
Oh, yeah.
That is so big after coming off, such a long collegiate season, doing the Queen Double at NCAA's, making the team, and now making her first Olympic final. And this is sort of like first time in an international competition on like the
biggest stage
and
the sport. Yeah.
And she's making it in one of the deepest, hottest races. So shout out to her.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I was trying to talk to the producers, but I really wanted to commend her on her, because mental health is a big thing for me, and it's just a hot topic period. And I was really impressed to see her. She did it. I saw her do it at the trials, but she was on the line. I don't care that the camera's on me.
Centering herself.
This is what I need to do to center myself, and I love to see it. And I especially love to see at the end of her race, she's really strong off that hurdle 10. That's how she got on the team, bypassing Shamir in the final at USA's. But to even see the composure on her face, because lane 9 went down. She also smacked hurdle coming off of the 8. That little thing happened. She kept her composure, came off of 10, closed in, got the big Q. That's how you do it as a pro, and I want to give her props for really handling that well.
Yeah, and we started off the heat 1 with what we thought was a false start, and by Amelie Yalu. I can't say her last name, but
I can't either.
It's like it's a lot of vowels in a row, but somehow she talked her way in running, because usually, especially at the Olympics, you false start, you're out of here. There's no discussion. I need to know what she said to the officials to get herself.
How she get back in that race?
And she went to USC. She was coached by Joanna Hayes, and I just feel like Joanna probably taught her something, because Joanna she's gonna come on the show at some point, but Joanna is one of the greatest mentors in track and field, and I'm sure she gave her some tips and tricks to have her ready, because I don't know how that girl was allowed to be on the line, because it was a blatant false start. You could see it on her face. She knew that she messed up, but she got to run in the semi. She didn't make the final, but she got to run, which to me is amazing. Okay, we're checking to make sure.
He's just he's running a little bit late, but he'll be joining us shortly.
Shamir backs. Biggity backs.
We had a whole debate about this yesterday.
Listen, was it a debate? Because Aries, and Natasha were yelling about how we ride for Delilah, and she doesn't get enough respect. And we're all over here agreeing that Delilah is that girl.
Yeah, I no question am cheering for all three ladies, but here at Track Girl Summer, we're about giving everyone their flowers and giving it to them now. And listen, she's the reigning Olympic champion. the reigning world champion. And up to
Four
a few weeks
trials.
ago, she was the world record holder.
And people do not even speak her name.
That's okay, baby. The rest of the world might be sleeping, but we
woke.
watching. We woke.
We
okay.
wide awake.
She from Rochdale, Queens. She's a go-getter. Okay.
I always say there's certain athletes like it's kind of like when I watch Michael Norman and Fred Curley compete. Like Michael Norman's technically sound, beautiful, amazing, talented athlete, but at the end of the day, like Fred Curley and Dalilah Muhammad are some dogs.
Dogs, okay.
Some dogs. And at the end of the day, when the fight gets gritty and it comes down to it,
my money's on Dalilah. we're not doing the predictions today, but you already know who my pick is for the final.
Shamir said it right. Just put some respect on Dalilah Muhammad. As someone who competes against these girls and has to go head to head with them, like I ain't nobody. Let me make that very clear. Yeah. But I know who to respect. I know who to respect. I know who not to play with. I know who's going to bring it to me. Like there's certain people you watch the race and say, okay, I gotta make sure I'm ready for her because the little start is something nasty. Yeah. Her first 4 hurdles are ridiculous. And we're gonna talk about Edwin Moses is here. Let's freaking go. I'm gonna start on his.
Let's wrap up because I want to. Gosh, there was something I was gonna say.
Bowl look good.
Oh yeah,
Femke Bowl look real good.
Bowl.
Y'all, so we sleeping on her, but like don't.
She's rounding into nice form when it counts, and she looks composed and good through. I don't believe she's going to challenge the world record with Dalilah and Sydney, but did I just give my pick? Sorry.
Stop talking. Edwin Moses is here.
We're in the presence of greatness.
Hi.
Hi, ladies. Good morning. How are you doing?
Speechless. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm gonna apologize right now because you are the GOAT. And I'm so excited that you came and joined us here on Track Girl Summer. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Waiting for results to come in a little bit later.
Yes. Well, if you guys don't know who you are, once again, get out of this show. I don't want you here if you don't know who Edwin Moses is. But Edwin Moses is a 400-meter hurdler, the 400-meter hurdler. He went to Morehouse, where he majored in physics and industrial engineering. He has 2 Olympic gold medals, an Olympic bronze. He has 2 world championship gold. He's also missing a Olympic gold. We'll talk about that because there's a gold that he deserves that he didn't get to get. He has probably the best winning streak in all of sports history. 9 years, 9 months, 9 days, undefeated for 107 finals, 122 consecutive races. He's a vegetarian. He's a humanitarian. I did some more research on you, and I realized all of us in track. I kept being like, "Is Edwin Moses the greatest person in the world?" I kept turning.
Literally,
I kept learning more things about you, and I thought I knew things about you.
Like, where's the scandal? There has to be one.
But we're gonna get into why all track athletes need to know
who you are.
Need to thank you because the sport would not be where it is if it wasn't for you. But yes, I feel like I'm there's so many things. Your first I'm so excited. I need to come. Your resume is just like so long, and I feel like I'm leaving things out, but you guys need to understand. This is the man. So welcome. Now that everyone knows who you are, can we just start off with your winning streak? And so you go on after lowering your world record, where your first international meet was the 1976 Olympics, if I'm correct, where you won gold, set the world record for his first international meet, first Olympics.
No big deal.
Then later you lowered your world record to 47.45, and then after that you lost to West Germany's Schmidt in Berlin, and then you went on your winning streak. You took that out and then said, "I'm not going to take another one," until it was 1987, where Danny Harris broke your winning streak. Then you did 10 more wins, and then you got third at the 88 Olympics. And I think everyone always talks to you about how many wins you have. What's more amazing to me is I can only count 6 losses.
I think that's about right. I think that's about right. I've got a good TKO record, a good knockout
Excellence
record.
is the standard.
But I started at Morehouse College. You know, I was like Urkel when I left high school. So I came out of high school unrecruitable, went to school on an engineering scholarship. Um, my senior year in high school, I was 5'7", 117 pounds. Morehouse had no track and field. So my whole career, the 5 years I was down there, I spent jumping over fences, much like a lot of the athletes had to do this past year, and to find places to train. We didn't have a track, no stadium, no nothing. So I started out at the Florida Relays in March 27th in 76 and ran 50.1. And I also ran like a 13.8 or 9 for the high hurdles and 40, I think a 46.1 for the quarter. And I qualified for all 3 events like in one weekend. And that was like my first big meet, you know, with where they had electronic timing and all that, because we were Division III and we didn't have a budget. We didn't go to meets. So I picked the 400 hurdles. And so 4 months later, I trained my butt off, continued to jump the fences, working out in the heat at inferior high school tracks, sometimes on concrete. And 4 months later, just before that, I convinced the president of Morehouse to give me $3,000 so my coach and I could have airplane tickets and fly out to LA and go to the AAU meet, which was before US track and field, and run some meets. So only because of a guy by the name of Hugh Gloucester was I even able to go to the Olympics. And I promised the president, he didn't know anything about the trials, how we made the team, all he knew was that there was an Olympic Games. He didn't know anything else about it. And I convinced him that I think I was a 48.9 then. I said, I'm going to run 48.9. I'm going to run like a 48. The American record was 48.5, 51 at that time. So I was like a 48.8, 48.9. I told him I'm going to break the American record. I'm going to go to LA. I'm going to win the national championships, go to the trials, break their record again. And at the Olympic Games, I'm going to break the world record and win a gold medal. But I had the whole thing already sorted out. I knew that it was absolutely possible. So I went from a 50.1 to a 47.63 in 4 months. But I was very experienced. I was a very good high hurdler and a very good quarter miler. I was running like 44 legs on relays, you know, on a team where everyone else was running like 48, 49. So I got a lot of opportunity to catch up and run hard in the mile relay. So I was in very good condition, but it all took place over 4 months.
I'm just in awe because you basically said, I knew I was going to do all this. And you
you
got to believe
bypass
it.
everybody. Let me go to the president and tell you why you need to give me this money so we can secure this business.
And I think I relate to you because I also was a short hurdler who like then ended up specializing in the 400 hurdles. And I always tell everyone, like, I think one of the reasons why I'm dead is because I'm a hurdler first, and then I become a 400. And a lot of 400 hurdlers are 400-meter runners who become 400 hurdlers. And I always feel like the hurdles in the 400 hurdles come at me in slow motion. That's because right. I'm so used to 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so I have the technique and I'm able to navigate the barriers a lot more efficiently. Do you feel like that helped you?
Absolutely.
As a 400 hurdler?
Absolutely. And when I started, no one was running 13 steps. At that meet at the Florida Relays, the first time I ran, they were saying it's impossible to run 13 steps. You couldn't have done it. But people were counting in the stands. And I think a television station had it on tape. But all the coaches, some of them, even Olympic coaches, were saying it's impossible. Where did this guy come from? No one knew me from Joe Donut at that point in time until that day. But, you know, I studied science and engineering, had a really good background, did a lot of cross-country running. I usually ran, back then I was probably running about 200 miles a year, maybe 300. But at the end of my career, I was running like 1,200 miles a year, you know, doing thousands. I was in serious condition. I could have run to 800. Or if I wanted to train up, I could have been a 1,500-meter runner. But I was in tip-top condition, absolutely tip-top condition.
Can you get a sprinter to run those kind of miles now? That's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we talk about, Mike Tinsley's coming on, and I said, I'm not going to talk to Edwin Moses about his stride pattern and leave Mike Tinsley out of it, because all 400 hurdlers want to talk to you about this.
I'm out of the party.
So
today.
I'm gonna make you talk about how you develop the 13 strides, but we're gonna wait for Mike Tinsley, because I just wouldn't want to do that to Mike. I know he's got questions for you too.
And Mike's a big fan too.
All right. Yeah, but at Morehouse, I did well. I won the Olympics my junior year. We still had no track until like 10 years later.
Yeah.
But it was an uphill struggle. It was an uphill struggle. And I was very, very good at the high hurdles. I had PRs in the high hurdles, the quarter, and the and for the first time the 400 hurdles within months. But the high hurdles was really the key, because the combination of 13 steps and being able to technically not even leave the ground but run through the hurdle, that's what made me a whole lot better. And if you watch a lot of my races, you'll see that it's just like an elongated step. I call it an exaggerated step.
That's exactly what my hurdle coach would say. He's like, hurdling is just an exaggerated strides for sprinters with style.
Absolutely. And all the legs through the motion, your legs through the motion, especially your trailing leg. That's where, the rubber hits the road. That's where the rubber hits the road.
Someone wants to know how tall you are, because you said you were, how tall were you in high school, and then how tall are you now?
When I was in high school, my senior year, I was 5'7", $117. I was like Urkel. And then by the time I went to the Olympics in '76, I was 6'1.5". I was still growing even into my junior year of college, 6'1.5" and about 160, 165. And then by the end of my career, I was 6'2", and my running weight was like 178 to 182. And I'm about 185 right now. I haven't put on any weight. I've been trying hard.
Let him know.
Let him know.
Let him know.
Let him know. There was a comment like, I mean this respectful way.
I cook every day. I've been cooking ever since I was in college, because the cafeteria food at Morehouse was horrible. So, and track practice ended at 6 o'clock. The cafeteria closed at 6 o'clock. So by the time we got there was only leftovers. So
you're a vegetarian, correct?
Say again?
You're a vegetarian, correct?
Well, I always ate meat, but very little of it, because when I went out on the track, and say I was doing like a series of 800s or 500s or 1000s, or even cross country, if I ate a steak or something really, really heavy, I would feel it the next day, and it would slow me down in practice. It took like 2 days for me to come back from eating a heavy meal of meat. So being out in California, I was in Newport Beach, Orange County, a lot of seafood. I started eating different kinds of fish like shark and seafood, and they had, the lobster and scallops. And so I just put together a completely different menu, very heavy on vegetables. But I've always cooked everything for myself. Instead of having a chef, I prefer to cook myself, and still do to this day, which is why I haven't gained any weight. And I have a garden. I've got figs and blueberries and all the herbs, tomatoes, and squash, peppers, everything out in the garden. Everything out in the garden.
Well, something I wanted to thank you for, and let everyone know about was me and Natasha talk about, the financials of being a track athlete. And, at the Olympics, they don't pay us to come to the Olympics as athletes, but now it's not an amateur thing where you can't compete in the Olympics if you are a sponsored athlete. And I didn't know this, but I learned this, that we have you to thank for that, thanks to you creating the Athletes Trust Fund program that allows us to make money in commercial endorsements without losing Olympic eligibility. And this was ratified in 1981. Can you just talk about how you did this, how you made this come about? Because, obviously the Olympics is where a lot of athletes, especially track, I feel like sometimes people don't care about track until the Olympics come about. And so it's a chance for us to really capitalize on our skill. How did that happen?
I've talked to a lot of guys, a lot of older guys. I don't know if you know Natasha, you may know him, Herb Douglas. He's 99 years old. He's my mentor. He competed in the long jump in 1948. Harrison Dillard, Mal Whitfield, all these guys have been getting paid historically, and the Federation always knew it. I talked to Carlos and Tommy Smith and Beeman. Historically, track and field athletes have been paid. And what was happening my first year when I went over to Europe, I wasn't getting paid a whole lot of money. I mean, they were paying like Olympic champion was only getting like $3,000. Lasse Barron, I think, was he won 2 gold medals in Montreal. I think they were offering him like $3,000 for one meet. So if you had a gold, you made money, but it was a very small amount of money. And I was a professional engineer when I graduated. I had a full time job out at General Dynamics in Pomona, and I really wanted to be a doctor. So when I got to Europe and saw how the meat promoters treated the athletes, they pay you if they wanted to, and didn't pay you if they didn't want to. And a lot of athletes ended up getting screwed around regularly by athletes and their agents as well. I said to myself, look, I don't know how long I'm going to be doing this. There's another Olympic Games in 1980, but I'm gonna press. And I was the most vocal one who really talked about amateurism and how it needed to go away. So as I went through my career, the prices just continued to go up, and I was able to assist Evelyn Ashford, who was probably the first woman to really get paid what she deserved. Over like $10,000 a meet. Back when she was running, which was a lot of money that they were paying the women. But I just forced the issue all the time. The federation, it's so funny. One of the guys that used to be the head of the IAAF from Hungary, I can't think of his last name. Those were the guys, the meat promoters that all became part of the IAAF were the ones that were paying us these illegal payments, and everyone knew it. Even in '76, after I came back from the Olympics, I had an Adidas contract, worth six figures, which was back in the '70s. That was a whole lot of money. It's probably like seven, 8 times what it is today. Um, but I just kept on pressing, and I ran my last year of college. I had a Adidas contract. I was making money running Europe's, and the NCAA didn't really care. And I seriously think that they need to go back to that schedule. I don't think you should force these young athletes to leave school in order to be what they call now a professional athlete, which is what you were a real professional back then because you were on your own in Europe. There weren't a lot of agents. You were running in the Cold War, Soviet bloc, running
Yeah.
against Russians and East Germans. There was a lot of doping back then. So, the
We
whole
gonna get into
concept of professional really needs to be revamped today. And I think the NCAA needs to let these athletes compete while they're in college because they're doing it in football, letting them use their name, image, and likeness. And that's exactly what's going on in track and field. So I think it's a disgrace that the athletes are forced to quit school um, because they want to make money running track.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's always happened that way. I refuse to let the NCAA tell me I couldn't make any money. I said, stop me. And then at the last year, I was out. I was out of school. I was out of school anyway, so it didn't matter. But they didn't bother me. They didn't bother any of the college athletes back then. It just wasn't a concern.
what
Yeah.
I appreciate is the boldness of it all. That I'm gonna go to the president of Morehouse. I need some money to go to these games. This is what I'm gonna do, and then y'all gonna pay us. Like we don't
Yeah.
need to do this under the table stuff.
Yeah.
Like you not afraid to
For
go
sure.
in there and say,
I
this
was
is
the
our
first.
value
I was
to
the
us.
first athlete to have contracts. I had written contracts, which everyone said you shouldn't do that because you can get banned. I got permission from Olin Castle to do I had bank accounts, had a European bank account. I had my money wired into my account by the end of the
Okay.
70s and the 80s. And so I didn't have any problems with the meat promoters because I didn't have to
Yeah.
stand in line. And I really just forced the issue for everyone. I was very vocal and almost got banned one time in 1978 with none other than Sebastian Coe. There was some money missing from the
So
payout. There was some. Check this out. There's some money missing. There's an article, and I just saw it the other day. One of the English papers. Edwin Moses, Sebastian Coe, Chester Sanderson, Sonia Lanneman. They were the top black sprinters in Europe. And so 18. I knew the story from years later. $18,000 came up missing from what the meat promoters were supposed to pay. And so after they paid us, then their story was we had to pay these athletes. But someone swiped the money. That was a long-term story, but it was all in the papers, and they were thinking about banning us. And they just asked me, "Well, did you sign anything?" I said, "Nope." They said, "Well, don't admit it. Don't sign anything. We're not going to do anything." So yeah, I and a bunch of other people. Dwight Stones was involved in that. Ronaldo Nehemiah. We were the first two to have the trust funds. because we competed in the Superstars in 1981, and Skeets won, and I was third place. So he won about, I think, about 40, 50,000. I think I won about 35,000. It was on TV. And so we had to put that money in a trust account because the rules were in flux back then. But in 1981, the IOC changed the rules so that the IAAF could go ahead and make everything legit, so we wouldn't have to worry about endorsements, contracts, meets, or anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think Natasha and I, we both went early. We gave up our eligibility in NCAA to go pro to capitalize on, because nothing's promised in this sport. Luckily, I was able to negotiate in my contract, like, hey, if you're gonna make me give up my scholarship, like, pay my tuition.
Same.
Right.
Because Stanford was not cheap.
Yeah.
But yeah, to see that you were fighting for things that's still an issue today, just so remarkable. And you kind of brought up the 1980 Olympics, and I wanted to talk to you about helping design the anti-doping system that we have today, because Natasha and I talk about it a lot on our show on how important it is to have anti-doping systems in place so that we can have clean sports, so that we can have a fair and level playing field. And I think you talked about how, USA kind of just got blown out of the water because there was so much doping going on. And in 1980, we boycotted, but like I read an article where he said we probably still would have gotten blown out of the water because of how much doping was going on. And we know 70s, 80s, it was a crazy time in track and field. But can you just talk about how you pushed? I read that you was in charge of making sure that there was the first out of competition random drug testing. Can you just talk about that a little bit? Because I was blown away.
Well, it really started. It was an initiative of the athletes at it used to be called TAC, the Athletics Congress. So after Ben Johnson happened in 1980, there was a group of us that included Skeets, Candy Young. I think Joetta was she was young then, but I think she was very involved in it. Rose Mundy, a lady named Dorianne Lamberlet Coleman that used to run for Switzerland, Rich Nichols, and Harvey Glantz. So we decided that we saw the trend, the way it was going. After 1980, everyone was really frustrated. And I do really think, well, in 1976, the women didn't win a single medal in track and field in an individual event. I was the only individual medal winner on the men's side. We
Which
won three of three events.
I just have to highlight. So they could dope all they want and they still couldn't beat you, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
You were
yeah,
just that good. You can do whatever you want. You're still not going to touch me, is what I'm
yeah.
hearing.
Yeah. So Evelyn was the only, she was fourth place in the 100. The East Germans, the Soviets. If you go back and look at a book of the 76 Olympics, I mean, those girls were hard. And I said to myself, damn, I'm 400 hurdles and I'm running 47 flat. And these women are, they make me look like a guy you kick sand into his face on the beach. I mean, serious muscles and everything. But that's just the way it was. It was statewide doping. And then in the late 70s, it started entering into track and field. And the thing that was heartbreaking about it is that the athletes who remained clean were the ones that were really hurt. And they were always moaning and complaining, but really afraid to speak up. So it wasn't until 1988, after the 84 Olympics, that we put together a group and said, we've got to have out of competition testing. We can't just wait to test until the meet comes up, because then that gives, obviously, everyone can do what they want all year long. Um, so it was a group of athletes. Most of us were African American that really wanted drug testing in the sport, and a lot of people don't know that. I'm going to talk about that in my book that I'm working on, and a documentary that's being done right now. But those are absolutely the facts. Um,
I'm looking
yeah.
for watch documentary.
Yes,
I'll let you know that right now.
yeah, and
Same.
and
Because
there was a lot of like in your face pushback during this time. There were a lot of athletes that said, I want to be able to compete against the Soviet and East Bloc. If they're taking drugs, I want to take drugs. So there was like a split between the athletes. And so we put together a committee, and we actually legislated, presented it before TAC, which is the USA Track and Field. And I'll forget the day that we voted. A lot of people said they wanted to vote for it, but we knew that they would say yes. But when the vote came down, they would say no. So we went to the bookstore. We had a couple of attorneys on the team. Went to the bookstore, and I got Robert's Rules of Order to find out how to control meetings and the procedures. And we made everyone stand up and vote, like verbally. We did a
Verbally.
show. We did a show of hands vote like they do in Congress, like a la John McCain. And we made everyone vote on the issue, and it passed. And that's how drug testing got started. We would have got
So
it would have not happened had we done a silent vote, if people wouldn't have been able to vote behind the scenes. So we made everybody stand up and put their hand in the air, and we started with a blank piece of paper to start the first out of competition testing program.
Wow.
I'm
Yeah.
curious to hear your thoughts on the current whereabouts issue because oddly enough, Kori and I actually had an out of competition test yesterday.
They came for both of us
Came
here.
for both of us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But we have lots of talks about whereabouts, and I have been in the game for quite some time. So I am a part of the transition to where I think it was in 2009, it was determined that we would be allowed, but I say allowed because the objective is not to miss any tests, but you don't have a violation until you miss 3 tests.
Three.
And I somehow came up with this idea that a missed test was a positive test, but I've been trying to research to find where that came from, and I think it was just a standard that I set for myself that I don't want to miss any tests. So I'm curious to hear like what was the beginning of the whereabouts filings, or how, because when this was established there was no internet, so there was no updating your whereabouts down to the minute, and if you missed a test, then it was considered a positive test. Like, how did that start, and how do you feel about the condition of it now, and athletes sort of having an issue with the way the whereabouts filings are conducted now?
I think that if you want to have a equitable sport, and I think it's really critical for the U.S. athletes, because the situation that the American athletes are in is that USADA does things right by the book all the time, and that there's a lot of other countries that don't have that kind of system. So I think that the thought was to put in a system where everyone all over the world, if you would exclude the American athletes, we have to have a system to be able to control when they're going to be tested. If you're out in Kenya, or you're in some of these smaller companies and they physically can't get to you, we've got to overcome that system.
Which is
But
still an issue.
the original system, the original way of notification for out of competition, you'll never believe it, and it sounds like we must have been fools back then, but it was a FedEx. The list went out, the list came up, and they would send you a FedEx. And what everybody was doing was that they just didn't answer the door when the FedEx package came. They just didn't go to the door and get it. So that was the first generation of out of competition testing. I
Wow.
forget what the second one was, but I think if you want to have a fair sport, then and I think it's the way that it's set up with the apps. I think it gives you an opportunity to really change your location with enough time. I've seen them all because I was chairman of USADA for about 8 years and helped them develop all that. We have a great team, but I think that it's the only way that you can really keep hardcore drugs out of the sport. In the
Yeah.
80s and 90s, the problem was that up until probably mid 2000s, 2005, 6, there was no test for testosterone. There was no test for growth hormone. There was no test for EPO. So if you can
And
imagine what was happening all through the 80s, all through the 90s, all through the 2000s, and that's when things really just got out of control. And that's when water was created. Water was created. We envisioned that back in the late 80s, an organization that would be independent. And I have my issues with water in terms of what they do, because they don't actually test athletes. They kind of regulate the sport, and I have some issues with them. But if you want to have a clean sport, it's kind of necessary right now.
yeah.
Otherwise,
I
things
don't want to.
will get out of hand.
And
They'll get out of hand very, very quickly.
Yeah, we talk about the whereabouts being a burden of such, but Kori and I agree that
I don't
it's
think it's
kind
a
of the
burden.
price that you pay. It's a part of our job. It can be difficult to keep up with your whereabouts, but
You
I
make
believe that they've
time
made it
for what's
as
important to you.
you make time for what's important, but I also think that they've made it as easy as
Mm-hmm.
possible for us to update our whereabouts.
Mm-hmm.
And I have found that there are across the globe 2,600 over 2,600 athletes in track and field that are on the out of competition testing list, and there's only 10 violations being served right now for whereabouts failures.
It's not
So
that hard.
that to me tells me that it's not a systematic issue, but an issue that we as the athletes have to take individual accountability for and do what's necessary for clean sport. So I just want to tell you, thank you for leading the charge on that. And although I agree with you 100%, WADA has a ways to go, but we've got to start somewhere. And what an amazing start, and what pride to know that it came from someone like you and leading the charge.
There's a team of us. All of us were sprinters, hurdlers, jumpers, a couple of distance runners as well. But the athletes demanded out of competition testing. In fact, the federation did not want to have it. They did everything they could to lay roadblocks in the way. The U.S. Olympic Committee at that time did not want to have it for all their sports. They laid down tons of roadblocks in the way. We literally had to fight and get a 26-page legal opinion, independent opinion, to prove that their position was, well, we're a public organization, and as a public organization, you can't make people have drug testing. You can't force them to do it. And we did a legal write-up, and it actually went to court, and we came out the winners. And our position was that it's a private organization. A private organization can have rules and regulations. If you can't follow the rules and regulations, then you don't compete. And so that's how it started. We had to fight tooth and nail.
I'm surprised by that, because there were a few years ago, there were talks about the NFL joining the U.S. anti-doping system testing pool, and they felt like it was too many rules. And they were like,
and
we're not going to do it.
I've had discussions with, I forget his name, from the Players Union at the NFL. We've talked with baseball at its worst, with the Barry Bonds, and going all the way back to, what's his name, Sammy Sosa. And I forget the other guy that were having the bat off. They were just knocking home runs out of the park. We've been engaged with professional sports all the way back then. And now today, a lot of people don't know that USADA actually regulates UFC fighting. We started from scratch.
I didn't know that.
I was there from the beginning at those conversations and at the meetings. And, we've had to walk through a lot of different scenarios. And they are not under the water code, but we regulate them as if they were, with a few different exceptions, But that was a very dirty sport. It was dirty, dirty, dirty. And it's most of the athletes now, they say, look, I feel more comfortable because I don't have to take huge amounts of drugs in order to be successful. So, we've brought the levels down, which is the most you can do.
I think it's amazing to see how not only you fought, but like the stars of our sports banded together so that we can benefit from your fight. And I appreciate it, because this generation, I feel more comfortable walking on the track knowing I can be a clean athlete and actually have a chance to be successful, and also have a chance to make money, because at the biggest stage. So we thank you for that. I already told you I needed 10 extra minutes with Edwin Moses, but I know it's to bring Mike Tinsley on. But like, I just have one more question.
We're gonna go on all day, but
I was reading about you, and in 2017 you had 2 traumatic brain injuries within months, and it led you to have to learn how to walk again. And I think that is so incredible to think about, because when I think about you, I think anyone thinks about you, we think of like this indestructible man who could not be touched for 9 years, 9 months, 9 days, who was a I don't even know the words to say but you had so much prowess and power on the track, and you were known for your ability to run, to then have to learn how to walk again. And I would just love to hear about that journey for you, because I think that is such a story of overcoming and triumph from you even a few years ago.
Yeah, I slipped down the steps, which are like right here, carrying some laundry, and smashed my head. I mean, it was like diving into a swimming pool from like 8 feet off. That's the kind of trajectory I took. Last thing I remember was having my hand on the banister. And the next thing I knew, I was waking up. I don't know how long I was knocked out, but I had a concussion, kind of got over that one. And then about 6 weeks later, I'm getting in my car, and I had something in my hands, and I had one foot on the ground and one foot in the car, and tossed it to the passenger side and smashed my head dead top center into the top of the door jamb. And within about 6 or 7 hours, I had like numbness in my feet. It wasn't really a numbness, but my foot began to get lazy. You know, your feet just, normally they just come off and bounce. All that began to go away. Over the period of 10 days, I lost my balance, lost the strength in especially my right leg. Um,
So it
and
was like a
I,
slow, wow.
it was a subdural hematoma. So I had a pool of blood in my head pushing down against my brain stem. And it basically just shut off the connection between my sensory system and the motor. So my feet didn't know where they were. I was hitting the steps. You know, you go up the step, you never even think about it when you go up the steps. I was banging into the step, couldn't go down steps, any surface that was uneven. And about 10 days later, I basically I was walking across the street to go to the Pacquiao, what's his name? Pacquiao, what's the boxer's name? They fought Pacquiao a couple of. Anyway, I was going to the fight party, went across the street, saw a police car with blue lights, started spinning, and had to crawl out of the street back to my car. And about 3 days later, I mean, it just kept shutting down and shutting down. And I was a knucklehead. I thought it was going to get better, and figured I just had muscle cramps or something like that. 10 days later, I was in the hospital, neurological ward, paralyzed from the waist down. And it took me. That was August of 2017. So it's taken me a full 3.5, 4 years to recover. I really just feel like a lot of my mental acuity and different high level skills that I would need every day, memory, analyzing, all those really high level skills that you never even think about. It's taken like 4 years. I got my balance back after about 2 years, but I was walking on like pretty much walking on egg crates for 2 years because if my foot was on a hard surface and I hit a carpet, sometimes you hit a carpet and it pushes you forward, I would go down. I couldn't stand up. I had to hold on, couldn't close my eyes, forget about walking on one leg. I was on a walker for months. And only from my track and field background and training was I able to come back. I had a friend that used to run 100-meter hurdles called Renee Felton. She was a really, really good back in the 80s. And she's a therapist out of Italy. And she came over and basically lived here at the house for 3 months. We did rehabilitation every day, swimming, weights. I couldn't even walk. I couldn't even jog 50 meters without feeling like I ran a marathon. It really just shut my whole body down. And I was lucky because 40% of the people that have it at that level end up dying. So I dodged a serious bullet. About the year after, went through periods of anxiety and a lot of depression because I wasn't able to do what I was capable of doing. The world was still going on. People would look at me and I would be basically stumbling, like step by step for the first 2 years. But everybody would see Edwin Moses. He looks okay. I know he hit his head, but he looks okay. And having to rectify, things like that with people that you work with when you're really
Yeah.
incapable, when your brain shuts down, you're not capable of keeping up with what's going on in the world. So yeah, so it was a long struggle. It's been 4 years. And finally, I feel like I'm back. Yeah,
Well,
mental acuity, yeah, things like that. Yeah, but it
I'm
was
so
nothing to brag about. People always said, Why didn't we know? You didn't tell anybody." It was nothing to brag about. It was just about work every day, from the time I got up until the time I got to sleep for like 2 years, and I wasn't
that's such
concentrating on
an
anything
incredible
else.
story of triumph.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I can
And
jump hurdles again now, so I'm good. Yeah.
well,
Not surprising at all.
let's bring in our next hurdler.
Yes, we
and
want
bring
to keep you with us, and hopefully you have some time to stay
I
for
do.
the party. But Michael Tinsley is excited to join us. We're excited to have both of you together for our Hustle Clean Podium pick session.
I'd have called dibs on Edwin Moses for my team. I'm just gonna let you know that.
That's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Michael Tinsley, another 400 hurdler. I'm not in the party today. But whatever. Tinsley is a Little Rock, Arkansas native. He is a Jackson State alum. So shout out to the HBCUs today. NCAA champ, US champ, 2012 Olympic silver medalist, Diamond League champion. My former training partner, aka work husband, Michael Tinsley. Thank you for joining us, Mike. How you doing?
No problem. I thank you guys for allowing me to be in such great presence today and whatnot. So I'm definitely excited to be on here and enjoy you guys and talk.
We're happy to have you. We know it's gonna be a good one.
And I saved this question because I was like, I can't talk to Edwin Moses about his stride pattern without having Mike in the building, because I just know you're a student of the sport. But it's funny because yesterday we were talking to Edwin, making sure he was good to come on the show. And he goes, "Oh, Natasha, I've met you. Kori, I don't think I've ever met you in person." You have. Now, so Edwin Moses met me when I was in high school.
Wow.
And I was at, I think it was the Masters meet. And Edwin was like, "Oh, I see you're running well, doing the 300 hurdles, da, da, da." And he asked me what my stride pattern was. And I had to look Edwin Moses in the eye and say, "I don't know. I just run these things." And so the next race, I'm running my race and I'm counting my steps, because Edwin Moses said, "You need to know your steps, count your steps." I didn't realize he meant that in practice. So I'm in the race counting my steps, and I look up and I'm in 6th place. And I said, "Oh, forget that. I gotta go." And my parents go, "What the heck were you doing for the first part of the race? You over here?" And I was like, "I'm counting my steps." Edwin Moses told me, "They're like, you almost didn't make the statement." I said, "I know." And now I know. He meant like, work on your steps. You should know it. And when you come to the race, be prepared. But if Edwin Moses told me to do something, I'm gonna do it right then and there.
Yeah, you got it in principle. You got it in principle.
So I felt so embarrassed. I was like, I'm talking to the scientist, and I said, "I don't know." But yeah, we got to talk to you about the 13 steps. The first man to ever do it.
Well, I told you that I was like Urkel in high school. I'm pulling up this picture. I think you might be able to see it, but that was me in high school.
Oh my gosh!
I was 5, but I triple jumped 45-1 at that size. 5'7", 117. I had this long extension, long stride, and I ran a lot of cross country, so I had power. So then when I grew, the first time I ran the race, I kind of knew halfway what I was doing. I think I might have practiced like Wednesday and Thursday that meet. But when I got into the race, I was a good hurdler. So I knew, the only thing I knew was that I wanted to hit the first hurdle on my left leg. And so I figured out how to do that. And I think that first year I was taking like 21 steps. And I think my feet were reversed in the blocks. So as I got stronger, I switched that around. But I hit the first hurdle with my left leg. And then I just started running at the Florida relays. And I just came up where every time the hurdle came up, I would hit it with my left leg. I was taking 13 steps, and I just kept on going because I had a long stride, and I had run a lot of cross country and up and down hills, so I had the power. And I wasn't afraid to run the quarter. So when it got to the 7th, 8th hurdle, I just kept on going, and everyone said it was impossible. They literally, they said that no man can do that. It's impossible to do. And I was the first one to do it. But that was just my natural stride, and I had the power. And once I figured out I was a left leg hurdler, I'm staying close to the lane. I don't have to even think about switching steps. That was just my pattern. It was baked in from the very beginning. It made total sense, and it was a perfect pattern, I think, for any hurdle.
I think Mike and I understand why it's advantageous for a 400 hurdler to be a left lead leg. But can you explain to some people who may not know why left lead leg hurdlers in the 400 hurdles are superior to right?
The lanes are 48 inches wide. So your hurdle is 48 inches wide. And theoretically, your body's supposed to stay, within the vertical plane of the edges of the hurdles. So the way that they measure the track is 8 inches in from the inner lane. So at 8 inches, you're running exactly 400 meters. If you're running 8 inches from the inside line, you're running 400 meters. You're able to run like 2 inches from the inside line, you're going to run less. So I ran the numbers. So, yeah, so it's running less. So if you're running, say if you're running on the outside of your lane, you're running the same 8 inches less. It comes out to like 2 to 4 feet per lane. If you're running on the outside of your lane, you might as well be running in the next lane. you're running an extra
Really
two to
big.
2 to 4 feet per curve, maybe even more depending on how. So if you add that up, if you're running outside in your lane, you're giving away a minimum of like 8 feet. You're just giving someone an 8 feet advantage.
All my life and never knew this. I know to hug the line, get as close as you can to the line, but
Remember,
nobody ever told me if you on that outside half of your lane, you might as well be in the next lane.
Yep.
Come on with
And
the
and if
physics.
you're a right lead leg, the
you-
centripetal force with the left leg, you can lean into the curve and you can run on the inside. With the right leg, you're fighting that centripetal
that's
force,
right.
and that's why a lot of people on hurdle 8 is deadly, especially if you are a right lead leg.
And we saw that in
hit,
the rounds.
you see
That's
right
right.
lead leg hurdlers hit hurdle 8.
Right.
It's
So when I was going through the turn, I was always, leaning into the turn and leaning into the hurdle as well. So the right leg hurdlers, they're forced to run in the outside of the lane. So everyone who hurdles in the turn with their right leg is running extra distance. So I always felt like they gave me 10 feet from the blocks. I had a 10-foot advantage already. And, everybody, I think of some of you probably took, what is it, algebra? The radius of a turn is 2 pi r. So if a half a turn, it's like pi times the radius. So I actually did the numbers by inches and figured out that it was like anywhere, depending on the size of the turn, could be anywhere from average of 3 to 6 feet per turn. So you're
Now,
giving away 6 to 12 feet by running in the outside of your lane. So I never did that. So I
can
stole from the rich right away.
you explain why 13 steps is more advantageous than 14 or even 15 with some people?
That's all relative. It depends on your particular stride pattern. 13 steps within itself is not gonna. There's people that can run 13 steps but can't run under 50.
True.
So it's
See
not the number of steps. It's the power. It's the power. It's the
Tinsley, how
power.
many steps are you count them steps.
Yeah.
We'll be at practice and he's like, man, I can't hit these steps. So
You don't understand, like it's a dance.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's something that it takes some time and takes a lot of different strength. You know what I mean? So in the weight room, when I was able to get stronger in the weight room, I was able to start 13 step and more. But originally, I would alternate. I would go to my first hurdle when I was in college. I won the NCAA championship alternating legs at 48 too,
Yeah.
and
Maybe
I just
14
could never
steps.
get that shot on right. And sometimes I knew I could 13 because certain races where I would get out really hard or going really hard, I made 13 step hurdle the backstretch. Maybe I would hurdle, 3 and 4 and then get back alternating. But I had a coach in Jackson State and he was trying to work me into getting into the 13 step. And it's like one of those things, if you're doing good, I'm beating the people in the conference, you know what I mean? I'm going well. So it's like, you know what I mean? In my head as a youngster, I'm like, I don't need to change any of that. But when I started getting myself involved with the professional guys, you know what I mean, the Batmans, the Angelo Taylors, all of those guys that I was competing with, James Carter, all those guys, grown men, they out here 13 step. And Brashawn, he had a different stride pattern for his size, but he was able to, do tremendous things with that. But I was able to start 13 step into 5, and that was kind of my sweet spot. If I could 13 step to 5, then I would switch over to 14. And when I would come home, honestly, since I could hurdle with both legs, I could come up left leg or I could come up right leg down that home stretch and be good, but I would have much more frequency. Some guys you see, they have more frequency coming home, and some guys they see that long pattern. Me, I had more frequency coming home, but it helped me because I was able to attack the hurdle with my left or with my right leg on that home stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
And it also depends because
for me, I had my pattern. I never had to change anything. Every race I took, it was either 151 or 152. If I was running slow, it'd be 153. The only difference was if I slowed down after the 10th hurdle. So every race is like 152 steps, no matter what. I never had to think about any adjustments whatsoever.
Yeah. I'm a short person, so I usually if I hit my stride pattern, because I'm still a little hit or miss, I go 15 through 6 and I drop down to 16. If I'm in the best shape of my life, I can stretch it out to 8, but I have to be in like championship shape to go through 8. And I still messed up, and Coach Lowe wanted to choke me out at Worlds. But let's get into
Yeah,
this
I
podium
hate to
picks.
break up this 400 hurdle party, but we got to get into the hustle clean podium predictions. And we don't know how long we're going to have Mr. Moses. Let's let our guests choose because we're predicting the women's 200 finals and the men's 400 hurdle finals. So which one do we want to do first?
I'm looking at the
Love that they come with notes.
draw. I'm looking at the draw for the men's hurdles.
All right, we'll go 400 hurdles.
How do you feel while you're looking at it, Edwin, about, Rye versus Warhol, and the record going down this year?
I think
is going to go again.
Yeah, well, they have a much better opportunity than I. We had to run 3 days in a row. So, Michael can probably tell you. I think you probably ran 3 days in a row.
Well, I mean,
they get a day off between each race. So that's why you're seeing a lot faster times. I wish I had that opportunity. It would have been a different paradigm for going into a final after having run twice and had a lot of rest. So to me, that's different. That's different. I think the heat's going to have a lot to do with it, or the weather. But in the men's hurdles, let me bring up.
Tinsley, what you think? You think we're gonna see the world record again?
I think there's a good chance we could, but I know those guys are gonna go out really hard. I was looking at some of the heat sheets. They got Dos Santos in front of in Warholm, and I know Dos Santos, he goes out hard. You know what I mean? So they're gonna be flying. They're gonna be flying coming out of there, and Rod's right behind Warhol.
Right. Dos Santos, he's taking 12 steps. They didn't even talk about that on NBC on the coverage. I don't know why they're so goofy.
They didn't even notice it. No, they didn't see that.
It's so
you told us on track
on track girl summer. Let them know right here.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty goofy that wasn't pointed off. So being out in lane 7, he's got Samba outside of him. So the race is going to be pushed from the outside and the inside. I mean, lane 6 and McMaster, I mean, you can't rule him out. And then you got Capello down in lane 3. So I think it's a good lane draw for a very fast race. I think it's going to come down to who makes the least mistakes. Someone's going to mess up. Maybe 2 people are going to make a mistake, but that's going to determine who's going to win.
Who do we have for gold? You're on my team, Edwin. So who do you think is going to get gold?
I think Benjamin. It's hard to tell. I think Benjamin's going to win. If he doesn't win, I think Santos.
All right.
The way he ran that semi, he ran it so smooth. You could see Warholm actually struggling. And yes, Warholm got the win in the semi, but he had to work for it. Benjamin was shutting it down.
I was going Rob Benjamin too. You know what I mean?
We want Benjamin too then, because that's
the thing.
That's where I was.
Thing with Rob with me, you know, mean how you see a lot of athletes and whatnot, and a lot of guys don't really show, you know, much, you mean how they feeling or how they going. But he's always like a cool cat, you know what I mean? When I see him, he's always cool. After the race, he's real smooth. Like I think for him to win it, like he's gonna have to go to that dark side. Like he's gonna have to really, you know what I mean?
Be a monster.
Yeah,
be a monster. He's gonna have, but he can definitely win. But he have to go to that dark spot. Where I used to tell Hastings, I used to say he's gonna have to commit suicide out there. He's gonna have to just. You know what I mean? Really put it out there, and then he can win it.
That's what I did. That was my race strategy all the time in big races. You run to die that day. Period. And wherever it happens, the earlier the better. Hopefully, you run a better time. Because my philosophy was, I'm always the one who hurt the most in practice and in the race. So I didn't care. I hurt in practice every day. I was not afraid to race hard. I think silver. I'm thinking Santos. I would pick him. I think Warholm. I would pick him for the bronze because he's run too many hard races already.
He has
hard races already.
Like I'm not arguing with the coach.
I'm not. All right. Whatever you want to say.
We usually have a little debate here. We go back and forth, but Kori is like.
Yeah, that's what I think.
This is the scientist. He told me how many steps he took per race.
Yeah.
Like,
and he's smooth for the hurdles as well. He is smooth.
Yeah, and with the 12 steps, he can get out fast without having to overdo it. He's going to be out fast because he's running 12. So I think that's going to fit into his natural pattern. And then at the end of the race, he's gonna feel the pressure about the seventh hurdle, and then he's gonna run. And if he doesn't make a mistake, and he looked really good last night, I think he can do it. I think he can do it.
Well, your opposite lead lane has to be so efficient because you're alternating so early. Like that's so amazing to me. Because to have both ready to go at any time, that's amazing.
And you can barely tell with him.
Yeah. Keep in mind, we got to make it interesting because this is a competition, all right? So we can't have the exact same pick as them.
I wanna go with a wild card. I wanna go with a wild card for the.
I like doing a wild card too because there's always a little upset. There was an upset in the men's long jump.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you never know what's going to happen.
You never know what's going to
happen
with the hurdles
because you've got to get over them.
I would say some, but he has a tendency to make mistakes on the last end of the race. You know what I mean? He has a tendency to make mistakes at the end.
Yeah,
I like Master.
Can I
you know what I mean?
The final back up on the screen. I'm sorry, not you, Tinsley. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I was. I kind of want to shoot for McMaster. You know what I mean? I want to shoot for him, but I don't know how he's going to be down the stretch. You know what I mean? Like you said, we already got to make it. Who do you think? What were your mind at, Hastings? What were you thinking about it?
I mean, I was on the Warhol Benjamin battle train. Dr. Moses got me questioning things.
He did not look that good
He did not look that smooth in the semis, if we're being honest here. Perhaps he peaked a couple weeks ago when he set that world record.
And Rice at home and didn't go to Monaco.
And people were criticizing, are the Americans afraid to race? And it's like, no,
Olympics.
I'm getting ready for the big picture. Go ahead.
Wait,
start over because your mic. Go ahead.
Let's take a side note. So I remember Kori saying that Mr. 13 Step himself told her, you know what I mean, asked her about her steps or whatnot. So after 12, going back to the Rob Benjamin thing, 16, I made the team. And that picture you guys posted up there, I took with Kevin Young and Mr. Moses.
Yep.
So I was speaking with him and we talked a little bit in the back or whatnot. And I was telling him I felt a little fatigue going into this. And he told me, like Kori said, he gave me the advice. He said, don't go run, you know what I mean? Go home and train, rest up and get ready for the Olympics. And I did not. You know what I mean? I went over and ran in London. And ran terrible. And I could just, going into Rio, I just never got back on. I never got back to my full potential that I was running that season. So I think it, like what you're saying, that was really smart for Benjamin to do, was to take that break and kind of go home and go back to the drawing board and get ready for the big race. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like when Edwin got that bronze medal, you saw the difference. Like the top three finishers all had different stride patterns, and you kind of saw the difference in philosophy and how it played out. It's like, do you want to go all the way through 13? Do you want to switch it up at the end and push and be able to just alternate? It's interesting because with the 400 hurdles, it's not like the 100 hurdles where 3 steps. You can mix it up and figure out what works for you.
But you got to set your come off the being strong. You know what I mean? For me, that was always the biggest thing, to come off the being tall and fluent and be able to come home and just charge and not worry about a left leg or a right leg. But if you are, like you said, Moses always on left, so you know what you coming to. You know what I mean?
I got a question for Edwin.
I got a question. We gotta get through our predictions. It's 400-meter hurdle party here. Like, we gotta stay on time.
I'm still asking a question.
So,
Edwin Moses, if you had to, could you alternate though?
Yeah, I could. I actually started running high hurdles with the opposite leg. Then I pulled a hamstring on the right, very high up, and then I switched to the left, like my sophomore, junior year.
I started as a hurdler. Let's go with our boy Warhol, Hastings. Let's go with Warhol.
For silver or bronze?
For silver. Oh, for bronze.
You going McMasters?
No, I've seen the kid Warhol. He's a battler. You know what I mean? He kind of psycho. So I'm gonna go for silver.
Ooh, that's thunder. A little Tokyo
I hope that doesn't mess with the Wi-Fi. So we going with Warhol for silver?
Yeah, and I'm gonna go Santos. You know what I mean? My boy Santos for bronze.
Okay.
I don't know countries. So.
It's fine. He's
a Viking.
It can go
Okay,
either way. It can go either
So-
way, but that's just my pick. But it's a 4-man race, 4 or 5-man race. That's what I've been saying, and it comes down to who's gonna make the least mistakes.
All right, now start thinking of your 200 picks while we get this board ready for the 200. For the
200.
women's 200.
Initial 200 pick. I already know what I'm going with.
200 for women.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Let me look that up.
Let me tell you, they are out here rolling.
I didn't see those rounds. I seen the times, but I didn't get to see the races for the semifinals.
Can we get the lane assignments up on the screen, please?
Yeah.
Because, sorry, producer, I didn't think about that before.
Going Elaine.
Are you going, Elaine?
I just don't think Shelly's going. The look on Shelly's face after the 100 told me, not in the 2.
I'm here for the mommy rocket.
She's at the height.
I'm also biased because I'm here for the moms, and I want her to come back for redemption in this 200 because I know she really wanted that 100. But this is not who we want, but what we think is going to happen. Elaine looked really strong. Elaine looked
so did Shelly.
Strong.
She shut it down.
Which brings I wanted to kind of mention this because we saw Sharika. Both Elaine and Sharika didn't really look that great in the prelims of the 200, and we were all kind of like, "Whoa, what happened?" And it looks like they were told to like measure because 6 rounds of the 100, 6 rounds of the 200, they're coming back for the 4x1.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like Sharika misjudged that.
I think they were told to like chill a little bit because
after
their
seeing
energy.
how Elaine came through with that easy 21-6, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Shawnee, I don't know how to feel about Shawnee. Shawnee, she's not a strong curve runner. The bigger question is she going to line up for the 400?
Seen the lanes though, Hastings. She's in 7, so that's she's in the
a good lane draw for her, but she may run the prelims of 400. She hasn't scratched from that 400 yet.
And that's today as well?
That is today.
Shawnee's lineup for 400 meter confirmed.
So,
also, let's talk about how Gabby, she was in a hot heat, so she had a little Q with how you get a little Q with a 22:01. These girls are her running.
It's insane.
Gabby has the number 2 time
ever,
and I'm like, I don't even know. She got a little Q.
She looks a little. If I'm honest about Gabby looks a little bit flat to me.
I feel like all the U.S. athletes look a little flat because we didn't do camp.
Yeah. That's a point, Kori. I was thinking about that. I didn't think about it in the sense of not being able to.
Yeah, Kori told my point.
We wanted to bring that up.
But
We're a
team. I wasn't even looking at it from the standpoint of training, which is important or whatnot, but I was just looking at it as a standpoint like, dang, they don't get to have that camaraderie, hang out, take the picture, do all the stuff that goes involved with team building. You know what I mean? But
the worst time I've ever run is when I've had to make that flight to Asia. Beijing, I did terrible. Beijing as a team, that was, I feel like, in the recent history, that's the worst performance we've ever had at a World Championships as Team USA. And I don't know what it is. Every time I done the Shanghai Diamond League, I've done terrible.
Now that you say that too, the Shanghai Olympics for us was rough too. It's something about us going over to Asia. It's a long flight, no excuse though.
And the time
we gotta do what we gotta do. I just don't know that it was a good call for Team USA to call off the camp and only give the athletes 5 days before competition.
Everyone. I think that affects everyone. I think Simone Biles, I think that was a big factor of her too. There's no way you can go there. Now, after 5 days, you're right in the middle of the worst possible time to compete.
Yeah, you're just started.
Yeah, you're not even started. You're at the worst possible time. Yeah.
So your day is now night and your night's now day, and your circadian rhythm is off.
Think about how hard a time we're having with keeping up with watching.
Right.
What mind games are you going? Is your body going through? Trying to get ready to compete over there. Yeah.
Edwin, who do you think we have for the 200?
It is more difficult for me in the women's sprints because I've been following it, but just based on the Jamaican girls, they obviously were told to take it easy and just shut it down. I mean, came close to not making the qualifying.
Sharika didn't make it.
Right.
Yeah, she didn't make it, but I think I
Then it may
I think Elaine is in better condition. I think what she did to Fraser Price in 100, I think that's only gonna in a 200. I think it's gonna be accentuated. So I don't think anyone's gonna beat her. Um, Maybe Miller Ebo can. Um, I think Toulou's going to be in the race, and I hope
Yeah.
that Gabby Thomas is able to pull it together because she knows she can run that fast. The question is, will she be able to do it under Olympic conditions?
The
Yeah, 'cause
question is, what we have for 1, 2, and 3. We
because
got to make some picks.
we're also leaving out. Thank you for that reminder.
Elaine first.
The Libyans, we haven't discussed them yet. They only won one. I think it was in Bama, won her heat. And the other
Oh.
one, the two. When I say the other ones, they're like 18 and 19. So the young ones, the young bucks out there, but they're out there silently dropping
No.
some
And they got to get
lows.
back used to it because they were running the 400.
And they're coming into this race with 48, 400 speed or strength. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would go with Elaine, Miller Ebo, and I would give a hope and a wish to Gabby Thomas.
He's like, hope and a wish.
Yeah.
I love it here.
And I want to say Toulouse. I
know. I just want Tyloo to get a medal.
Come on,
She
always
gets
the
so
bridesmaid, never the bride.
It could be her race. She might come off the turn and no one can catch her.
I just feel like the way Shanae ate up Tyloo in Monaco, she had work to do, but she said, I have the stride length and the 400-meter power. Y'all, I'm hunting you down. I'm walking you down like it's nothing.
I think she's definitely got a good lane draw because she does not run a strong.
It's that 400 though.
But that 400,
yeah,
I'm a little iffy about that.
It's like lane 1 through 8, anyone could get it, and it's stressing me out. Mike, who do you guys have?
Frandini's not in the final, Justin. Gabby is our only American in the final.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is I'm
going with.
Go with Elaine. I was definitely on the Elaine train. You know what I mean? In Miller, and I want to say for a second, I think Price is gonna get that second. Oh, no, I want to go with not second, but I want to go with Miller. No, I don't want to.
What do you want to do?
Got your girl from what? Nibia? That's where she from?
Yeah.
Bamba.
I like her because she was running. She had a little swag to her too. You know what I mean? In the first round.
Yep.
I would want to go with her third, Hastings. I want to go with the young for third. And then you want to do Miller or who you think?
I can't leave the Mommy Rocket off.
You want to go Price?
Mommy Rocket is a hunter.
You want to do an island sweep. You know what I mean? You want to do an island sweep. You want to go Miller and take my girl off for third? And
No, she wants to go Price second, I think.
I want to go Price.
All right, let's go Price then.
I have more confidence in Price than Miller.
I'm gonna take a picture so you have it.
Miller is she's a gamer though. She's had tough races. You know what I mean?
But let's also think about her championship runs though. Mm-hmm. She's got the big win from 16, but she fell short in 17.
And she fell
short in 19.
Oh,
it's some fire in this 200, and she's got that 400 round before the final.
That might be enough to warm her up, though. You know, she might need that.
It might be the thing that takes her out. I don't know.
Here's the thing about Gabby. It's like, I think if Gabby gets it, it's cool, but the way the girls are running around, she looked good in her prelim, but the semi, it was like she got a little cute. And I'm saying, Gabby's
in on a
Gabby got third in her heat.
She got.
To be fair, it's a 22:01, and we're talking about Gabby looking flat. We don't know.
She might pop it back up.
Looking composed is one thing, but 21.6 is still 21.6. And what you gonna come back with tonight?
She did do 22:01. You know, I'm gonna leave Gabby here. Yeah, we're gonna leave Gabby.
So we can look at it that way.
She got third heat in the fastest heat.
Because we saw them run fast in the semis for the 100, and they still came back and ran a little bit slower in the final. So,
because it's like you run for your life to get into it.
You run for your life,
and then at that point, it's like I don't have the legs, but I'm here.
Tinsley saying something.
Hastings, is that girl that we got for third? Is she running the 400 as well, or she just running? Is she
Not
running?
allowed to run
She's not allowed to run the 400. She's only in the 200. So she's out to make a statement. So I think
she has the higher testosterone levels, and so natural testosterone levels.
She's got something to prove.
So they got kicked out of the 400, dropped down the 2.
Oh, I didn't know that, but I see it on the side banner here now. Somebody posted it up here. Chris. Okay.
This is going to be a hot race. I think we're
locking this in.
I took a picture, so you did.
No, we didn't. Don't be trying to. Y'all sure about y'all choices?
I am.
We sure
I like on the stand, but I like what we got though. I feel like we stepped out on the limb.
To be fair, Edwin said a special mentions to Talu.
Yeah. You know, she could be the surprise. You got to remember, anything can happen in the Olympic Games. It's up in the air. You know, it's not a normal competition. People, just like Gabby came out of nowhere at the world at the Olympic trials. No one would have ever thought that she was capable of that.
I thought she was.
I thought she was capable of winning. I didn't think she was capable of doing the number 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. We actually trained at the same track as Gabby, so I kind of knew some fire was coming.
But also, who knew that 22 was not going to make the team? 22 low was not going to make the team.
22.98 is at home right now. Help me understand. Help me understand. All right, so we are locked in on our predictions. Thank you, Hustle Clean, for sponsoring this.
We have 15 minutes to talk to Mike.
Do we really only have 15 minutes? See, it gets so okay.
Okay. Well, first of all, we're gonna stop taking up this legend's time. I just want to say thank you, Edwin Moses. I had to say, clearly you are shoulders that we stand on, and the sport would not be where it is if it wasn't for not only your performances on the track, but the way you fought for us off the track. And I just want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I don't know why you guys keep doing this to me. I refuse to cry on camera.
Cry again, girl.
You guys, it's just like, I'm not going to cry on camera because I'm a thug, but you guys keep getting me in my heartstrings, and it needs to stop.
Yeah.
We thank you, and we love you, Mr. Moses.
Thank you for coming here.
I hope you come back again.
Thank you.
Definitely.
All right.
So much knowledge. I learned so much today.
Me too. All right, Tinsley, my work husband. We got divorced, but I still got a little love for you. We're still cordial,
No doubt.
We still the homies. One of the things that you and I really connected on is the journey. Like I moved to Texas the day after Christmas 2011 in preparation for the 2012 season. I missed making the Olympic team that year, but my dog became Olympic champ that year. Olympic trials champ, excuse me, and then went on to win the silver medal. And it was after that summer watching you, not watching because I couldn't watch the 2012 games, but
I feel it.
You, after that summer and you winning, and it was like our bond just became even stronger because it was like, this is a person that I know has been there 8 years straight of running 48, not making the team. And then finally in 2012, you become Olympic trials champ and then the Olympic game silver medalist. Talk about not giving up, staying in the fight, not losing hope. That was, we always say we go in the trenches together, and that was really something that you and I bonded over. So tell us about the journey to U.S. champ, what it took to get there, the ups and lots of downs, more downs than ups, but how it made that up so much sweeter.
Well, thank you for that great introduction. You know what I mean? I definitely know when you came to train with us that year. I was coming off 2011, missing the world championships. I got 4th place. Angelo beat me out. I think I ran like in lane 1. Yeah, I ran like lane 1 or 2 or whatnot, but I missed out. Yeah, I missed out. And that was one of those moments for me, is like where they say mildew or barbecue or whatever, or either take it or get off the pot. But that was one of those turning points for me where I really could have went backwards in sport. I really could have got down on myself. A lot of people were always talking about, oh, fourth place this, fourth place that. It's the worst spot. You know what I mean? And for me, it was the opposite because it was like, if I'm fourth place, that means I'm right there on the edge of making that team. I'm there, like I got fourth this year, I got fourth that year. I'm competing well, I'm running well. So that just means a little something is missing. If you're not getting to the final, or you back there in seventh or eighth or whatever, barring mistakes maybe that you didn't make, then you out the game. You know what I mean? It's hard. You very rarely see jump from, oh, I didn't make the finals this year to bam, I'm the champ the next year, especially in the 400 hurdles. Now, maybe in the 100 and some of the other events, you can see cats kind of jump out there. But for the 400 hurdles, you know what I mean? You've seen the same people for the next 4 or 8 years of your career, like same people. So, but that was the year that really changed. And when you came that year, I was already on my bulldog, my hard hit. Like I'm coming out here. I got yeah, I got fourth last year. Like I'm coming out here, and then Hastings show up. Not necessarily knowing Hastings too personally at that time. We had some encounters before, but didn't really know her. I mean, long conversations or encountering her. But when she got there, I mean, I knew she was a great athlete. Just looking from looking from the other USC, you know what I mean, on the other side, on the East Coast, and seeing her train and do her and compete, short hair, you know what I mean, seeing this, you know what I mean, she coming here, you know what I mean. You always hear in training groups, you hear about people coming to your training group, but you never really know. You know what I mean? You hear whispers, oh, this person coming, oh, we might have this person next year. And he like, but we heard Tasha coming here. So I'm like, well, I believe that when she, you know what I mean, when she show up. So she showed up, man, and she trained very hard, man. And I think that's something that I noticed from the very start of training with her, is just how hard she trained and how hard she pushed herself. So that really pushed me to another level as well. But all that time of training and missing teams, doing that, it built up. You learn different lessons from that. You learn how to compete better. You learn how to push yourself harder. Learn what works for you and what don't work for you. Just listening to Edwin talk, and Kori can attest to this as well, or anybody, that in the 400 hurdles, you know what I mean, the 13th step is gold, it's king. Everybody thinks that's what it was. So a lot of time in my career, I was pushing myself to try to fit that mold of someone that wasn't necessarily me. I wasn't a 13 stepper all the way around, or certain things. But when you're training with people or doing certain things, they try to put you into that mode. So once I got to doing the things that worked for me, got more confident in myself, that's when I was able to push myself to make those teams. And a lot of people may not be as much self-critical. You know what I mean? I was very self-critical of myself. I'm not an athlete that blame my coach for everything, or you know what I mean?
Of that.
Yeah, I'm vocal with my coach and talking to him about my training as well. So, you know what I mean? When I go out there and compete, that's on me. And I noticed one thing that I was doing a lot as an athlete, I was changing my race every time I competed against different athletes. You know what I mean? If this runner was behind me, I would do this. This person was there, do that. So the mental side of the sport is what really grew me the most. Once I learned how to get more mentally strong, that's when I was really able to excel. That's when I was able to start beating people. That's when I was able to start gaining real confidence. You mean you go into confidence like, oh, I'm gonna go in this race and I'm gonna kill these cats. I'm gonna go do that. But that's just kind of like your ego, or you just trying to hype yourself up. But that real confidence is built up in that mental training, in that training throughout your season, and building that up to know that I'm ready. You know what I mean? It's one thing saying I'm gonna beat somebody, but it's one thing when you say I'm ready. And when you know you're ready, you know what I mean, you can go out and you can push yourself, and you can push yourself to the point to where I know that I'm gonna do what I do no matter what the next athlete beside me does. And once I got that, you know what I mean, I started reading sports psychology books, counseling, different things to kind of just get my mind right. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of things with a lot of athletes. I know, you know, I mean, everybody in every training group call them different things. You got practice all Americans, you got all these different names for them. That athletes that are great, and you train and you're just like, man, this is an awesome athlete. And then they go to the meet and they just can't produce. You know what I mean? When those lights come on.
Well says, he says, train like Tarzan, compete like Jane. People who workout warriors but can't put it together for the race.
Man,
I
that's
say
a
that like I train ugly so that I can compete pretty, but
Ooh.
I love that you brought up the sports psychology,
Mhm.
and because one thing that I always say about you is that you are a true student of the sport. And I hate to give you this credit because we have a battle relationship where we kind of give each other a hard time, but like really training alongside you and the gems that you would come to practice, and it wasn't just for you, you would drop them for everybody, and that was one of the reasons why I would kind of cleave to you a little bit. And sometimes we would try to get the other ones to kind of join the train, but it was like you really had to know the sport, know what it is that you're out there doing. We used to think you were obsessing over steps, but you knew that this is what when I start tapping into this is when I know I'm on. Now I'm getting my mind right. These are the things that we used to listen. The thing that we used to battle the most about, right? Me and Mike T talk our ish. Like it was like this the dog train. Come on, get on the dog train. But where I did not like Mike T, you know where I'm going with it. Mike is not scared of work.
Oh yeah.
So we would be done with our workout, and Mike would get up and be like, I got another one in me. Let's
Mhm.
go. And D2 is over there like, oh yeah, we gonna do it. I'm like, I'm laying on the ground like, who? Shut up. What are you talking about? Because now if you go, I gotta go. Because if the rest of these girls go and I don't go, then they gonna be looking at me crazy. I used to be so mad at you for that. But talk about not
Well,
only
extra credit.
elevating yourself, but elevating the rest of the group. Like
Mhm.
you were that person that led by example. And I don't think I ever told you that, but I'm gonna give you your flowers for that, because that was one of those
Aw.
things that, like, as I said, like seeing you bounce back from, like, I didn't even know that stat, 8 years straight of being a solid competitive 400 hurdler, and every time you go out there and try, you get knocked out. And like you said, to be right there, a lot of people would have just been like, I'm done, I'm
Mhm.
out. But not only did you do it for yourself, you made sure that you poured back into the rest of your group, myself
Not just
included.
to group because Mike Tinsley, I'd come up in Mike Tinsley's face and be like, "Hey, I know, I'm gonna apologize. Right? I know I was the annoying kid on the circuit when I first popped on, but I just was so enamored with these stars, and I'm like, I gotta
Yeah.
say hi to Mike and listen to him. I'm gonna go over."
No, I was excited to. And you didn't bother me none. I was excited to. You know what I mean, making a team for me, like Hazen saying, going on that streak, never being on an Olympic team, not no juniors, not no U. I never represent the U.S. in no capacity. Maybe at like a pin relay one time. You know what I mean? And that was it. And I was like excited about that. So you know what I mean, I really soaked in all of that. But to go back to Hastings' point is that with the group or whatnot in training, I wanted to push myself. I wanted to push myself to get better. You know what I mean? Like I said, coming from 11, I was really, you know what I mean? I was really on another mindset. And coming with Hastings that year, you know what I mean? Coming there with that extra component, it really pushed me. Oh my God. Yeah, they really pushed me. But the reason why I would be like that is like you want to empty out the tank. You know what I mean? You want to have good training sessions. You don't want to get home and always think like, dang, I could have did one more, or you mean I was fresh today. So it wasn't one of those things that we did all the time, Hayes. But if I
So
felt
what
good that day,
happened?
yeah, if I felt good that day, Kori, I'm gonna. Hey, we got one more. I got one more in me. I got one more in me. And the thing about that too, because we had a lot of different partners over the years. But what it did for me is that, all right, if I'm out here talking and yapping, you know what I mean? I gotta show and prove. I gotta go out here and do it. So if I talk all that shit, Hastings, Bianca, Rogers, whoever training with us at that time, Stacy, Jasmine, you know what I mean? All those people, they gonna be expecting me to get on. So then it used to push me. So I would talk shit at certain parts, but there'll be days at practice where I didn't have the push or whatever. And they like, Tinsley, come on, get up for recovery, get to the line. Oh, where you at? You was talking all that trash yesterday. You know what I mean? So it built that up like, all right, I'm talking trash and I'm trying to get them. So it was kind of like a reverse psychology thing, reverse psychiatry thing, or whatever. I'm saying it right. I don't know. But it's
You
kind of
said
like
it right.
it's like things like, all right, I'm gonna talk trash to you and I'm gonna push you guys to the point where there's come to practice. People don't want to talk to me, Kori. People will come to practice and say, don't talk to me today. I ain't for that.
True,
I ain't for it today, Tinsley. I don't want to hear nothing. I don't want to hear
true story. I was one of them sometimes.
to Kori.
I've
I
got
will
that. I get it. I get it.
I would go over there and put my mat right beside whoever person that is that day. I would make sure I stretched by them, and I would talk to them. And even if they didn't talk to me, I would talk to them. I would, you know what I mean? But it was something that really grew us.
They're built different. I'm just gonna let you know right now.
Cussed out several times. Several times get cussed out. You know what I mean? But it's something that I did that really helped push me. And I think and going to Hastings, I didn't really know the effect that it had on the other athletes. You know what I mean? I thought I was just one of them annoying dudes that talked a lot of trash. But the thing I felt worked is because when I did that and I went to the meet and I ran well, it just built up more confidence. And they said, all right, Tinsley talking shit, but then he going out there and he doing his thing. You know what I mean? He's going out there, he's competing well, he's doing that or whatnot. So in training in such a good competitive training, shout outs to my boy Mike Rogers or whatnot, you know what I mean? He's still out there thumping, you know what I mean?
And I think I saw BK in the chat. I think Bianca's here. Bianca
Okay.
Knight was also.
Oh yeah, so going to the
Team, the squad.
when you go into a diamond league or these big meets or whatnot, and you got 3 or 4 top athletes, you know what I mean? When I go out there and run, or Rogers run, or whoever run first that day, they set the standard. When I go out there and I see Tasha drop a time and win or do her thing, it's like, dang, I gotta go now. You know what I mean? I gotta go out here now. You know what I'm saying? Rogers go do things. So we all fed off each other. You mean to build that up to go that route? You mean one year I think we went to USA's and all 3 of us won. You know what I mean? I think one year we all won USA championship. You know what I mean?
It was 12 after you. Like I said, I didn't make the team, but you made, and we're gonna go over time because y'all stayed together yesterday. We're gonna make sure we give Mike his flowers. 12 you won trials. I didn't make it, and that was one of the things that they were like, we got to change the battery.
We were at 5%. I was saying, if we're gonna go over time, we might as well get this battery together.
Where it was like, if Mike could do it,
I don't know why you're giving this like I know how to work your camera.
We're gonna be right back. We just gonna switch the camera around
but you can
or
still
change the battery, but you're still
talking.
gonna be able to hear us. That was when I realized like it can still be done. Like if you can do it in group, I definitely can do it. So when you talk about us feeding off of one another, that was definitely the case. Okay, I can't multitask.
Well, I have a question for Mike because I'm reading off of Tasha's note. What is everyone has a crazy circuit story?
Oh my God.
We want to hear it. What's your favorite craziest circuit story? We need it.
Oh my God.
He's laughing because he already knows.
My stories is like with Rashawn and Rogers. They never get
Oh, snap.
Keep it PG, please.
You said I said, oh no.
Oh my God. Man, I have some good stories or whatever. I feel like I don't know. I don't know if all my stories are able to tell though. All my funny ones
are. There was when we were in Monaco.
And Monaco was really a good one. We was really on a good one. We was there for a few days, almost a week or so. We was there for a while.
Like a whole week.
Yeah, I'm not sure we was there, but my boy Tyson, shout out to Tyson Gay T-Reezy. He was on one of his things where I felt like he was like, oh man, I'm not gonna be coming overseas a lot and all of this and whatnot. So he's like, man, we should do something. We don't ever do anything. You know what I mean? I come up under Tyson. You know what I mean? My first professional meet ever, I was roommates with Tyson Gay. You know what I mean? At Lausanne, and that was my first ever professional meet. Well, not my first one, but my first one overseas or whatnot. And what's the word? He's a hermit. You know what I mean? He's in his room. He ordered room service all day. You know, he tell me stuff like, man, don't be down in the lobby with those cats. You know what I mean? Focus on your race.
I have a 5-minute lobby rule, which is I'm only allowed to be in the lobby for 5 minutes because if you're on the circuit, you can get caught up into some long-winded conversation because the old heads always down there talk about the same topics every meet.
Not the old heads. Call it who it is.
So
and I gotta go. My coach says I can't leave in the lobby for more than 5 minutes.
That's a good rule, you know what I mean? But that's what he was preaching, you know what I mean? He had me so psyched out. I would go to places and I wouldn't even go and see the city. You know what I mean? I would be ordering room service, just going to lunch and going up or whatnot. But over the years, I started to loosen up with that. But during this time, Tyson, he was trying to get out and enjoy yourself. So Hastings, she missed the beginning part, but we went out on a boat later that week. I think you came home. but we went out.
Yeah. I went on the boat after I left. I was like, y'all so trifling.
They fake friends.
Hastings. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It was like Diddy, Jay-Z. Like you can see the bottom of the bottom of the ocean. We in the Red Sea, you know what I mean? We out there doing cannonballs. But the week before that, me and Hastings and Brashawn and Jasmine, is that her name? The 100 hurler?
Yes, that was.
Yeah, Stowers. So we went out. We had some great idea to go on jet skiing and whatnot. So it's me, Brashawn, Tosh, and Jasmine. So we get out there, and so we out here in the.
Story, and I didn't even remember this, but now that you go ahead.
So we out there on the jet skis, and this dude he sends us out. I think he comes out with us or whatever. He gave us some little rules or whatever. So mind you, we get out there, boom, everybody just going everywhere, 100 miles per hour on these jet skis out here. You know what I mean? We on that's the Mediterranean, right?
French Riviera.
Yeah, French Riviera. You know what I mean? So we out there on the jet skis. We just going all these crazy places. You know what I mean? So Hastings, she's out here smashing it, turning and dipping. Brashawn, he flipped his. Brashawn flipped his. I think I flipped mine as well. So we getting ready to come in.
Tokyo drifted.
Yeah, we was really out there, and I don't think we couldn't have ran that weekend. I don't know why we was there for so long or whatnot. But we on these jet skis and we coming in or whatnot, and the dude telling us to slow down. Hastings come in and pass me. She come in and pass me, and the dude like slow down. So I see Hastings. I was trying to speed up and go past her. So the dude I think he made me get off, and he drove mine in. He got on my jet ski and drove it in because we were just out there all reckless, man.
Y'all act right.
Yeah, and man, and just
they're having a good time.
In London with Hastings and the whole crew, you know what I mean? Out there going to clubs after meets, partying and dancing.
They always fell in London, so we would always go out after the London Diamond League.
Yeah. And that was
out after the London Diamond League. But it was our first meet out. We can get nowhere. We weren't young enough.
I see your head on a swivel, Mike. So we're gonna go ahead and transition into I love you on the track and all of the things that you bring. But you know, one of the things that I love about you, mommies are getting all the love right now, but I love seeing you in your daddy role. You're a dad of two, Michael and Titus. I remember a few years ago I came over to your house and I said, Michael, who's your favorite athlete? And Michael said, my daddy.
Aww.
That's Titus at the trials.
Yeah, that's T-Man.
That is his little beanies for so long. That was his look, a little beanie.
Yeah, when he first was in the game. But yeah, that's something, man. I try to pride myself on, man, is being a good dad, being involved in my kids' life. My youngest son Titus, he doesn't live in the same state as me, nor does my oldest son. But I have my oldest son during school time, so he's with me full time during school, and I have Titus in and out throughout the summer and holidays. But it's one of those things that it's I don't even look at it as a job or whatever. It's just something that's natural for me. You know what I mean? It's natural for me to want to be a part of their life and to know them and to talk to them and to you mean kind of guide them up in a positive way. I reaching back into that, like there's a lot of times, like I said, my sons, they were living with me and Michael, and even in the summertime when I would train, it would just be me, Michael, and Titus. I would get up in the morning. Michael would catch the bus. I would drop Titus off at daycare when he's with me at that time, and I would go to the weight room and I would go start my day. And then once it's in, I would do that. And I think that was one time. I think Hastings was like, "The boys, you got both of the boys down here?" And I'm like, "Yes." They're like, "How long they been down there?" I'm like, "They've been down for like a month now." You know what I mean? She's like, "What's going on?" But it's just one of those things. I guess I grew up in somewhat of a large family, but in a family that's really close knit. So I was changing diapers and taking care of kids when I was 8 years old as a youngin'. So that was already instilled in me. So when I got my kids and got my boys, it was just like people would wonder, like, how you doing all of this? How you scheduling this and doing that and doing that? And I'm just like, dude, it's what it is. You don't complain about it. You just do it. You mean you just make it happen for them or whatnot. And over the time, I've definitely seen how my relationship has been able to grow with my kids and their parents as well. And with co-parenting is a huge thing and a big part of it, and it's allowed me to grow in a way that I didn't know I could grow. You know what I mean? That I didn't know I could grow. You know what I mean? And putting a lot.
Things. So when I say I love seeing you in that role, I'm co-parenting as well. So coming to you on that topic and you just getting some pointers. But I always remember, as you started the transition and you weren't kind of sure about, am I going to keep running or if I'm going to start a new life. And one of the things that you said to me that I was like, man, Tinsley is a dad. You were like, I really want to keep running because I know I'm not finished and there's some things that, I feel like I could possibly do. But like, I really enjoy that. Like, I work this job and then I come home and I'm able to go to my Kale's football practice, go to basketball practice, like all the things that I miss because I'm on the road. And I'm like, yo, I felt that. Like, I really, all the flowers, all the kudos for what you've accomplished on the track. But I think one of the things that I say over and over here on the show is that, we're fans of the sport, but more importantly, we're fans of the people. And I want people to know who you are besides that monster on the track. Although the monster on the track told me that he couldn't see me as a mother because I'm too self-centered.
Yes, I mean, your name says it all. The 400 Diva, it says it all.
I live with Tasha now because we're doing the show all the time. I live with her, and her and Liam, like that's her dog. She's such a good mommy, so I'm gonna fight you on that, Tinsley.
Yeah, I never, at the time when I met her and at the time that we had at that time, I didn't, I didn't see her, especially as
I feel like you're itching to tell the story. You can tell the story, how we met.
Yeah. Oh my God. But it wasn't that the thing that I couldn't see her as a mother, just at that time when I had met her in the phase that we were in, and then bam, now you having a kid, it's like, God, dog, it moved fast. But just seeing her, she's a great mother, whatever, seeing her with Liam and seeing how they act with each other, whatnot. And you know what I mean, she's probably one of those helicopter parents, you know what I mean? She's on little Liam or whatnot. But it's a great thing. But when I first met Hastings, I seen her all this time, of course, running, you know what I mean? And you see people through circus. Contrary to what some people believe, I'm kind of like an antisocial person unless I kind of really know you or you in my circle and whatnot. But I had a good friend of mine, and he hit me up. I was in Miami. This is my first time ever in Miami, you know what I mean? So I'm down in Miami or whatever. We ran a race earlier that week, and he's like, man, we going out or whatnot. So, you know what I mean? I got my own, you know what I mean? In my head, like, I got my own little thing going, you know what I mean? I got my own setup going out here. But he's like, man, come roll with me. We'll be down there to St. Mary's. So I'm like, okay.
I'm waiting for, because I know it's about to be something.
So he rolled up, you mean he rolled up his Tasha and my man. So they in a little tiny little red. What kind of car was that, Hayes? It was a
don't sleep on my 6-speed, my G37S.
But it was a tiny red car, you mean? So they pull up, bam. Initially, I'm not no super tall dude, but I'm pretty tall. You know what I mean? I'm getting there, I'm scrunched in the back seat for once. I'm like, God, dog, you know, they got me tight up here. So I'm kind of like, when you sit in the back of a car, you got to turn sideways and kind of put your legs up.
I've never had that problem, but yes.
So I'm sitting in there and we riding, and I noticed like ain't nobody talking. Like it's like the tension is heavy in this whip. So I'm like, okay. But I noticed both of them were texting. So I'm like, are they texting each other? You know what I mean? I'm in the back, so I'm trying to see what's going on. I'm like, are they texting? What's going on? Hastings driving like a bat out of hell. You know what I mean? We in Miami. You know what I mean? I'm in the car going, we bouncing or whatever. So they start to talking a little bit. You know what I mean? We're going to get the detail of the conversation. So we get like downtown, you know what I mean? And like, I had some things set up. You know what I mean? Spot set up. So mind you, I put my luggage in her car. You know what I mean? I put my luggage in her car because he told me that, oh, well, we can take you to the airport after the joint or whatever. So I'm like, all right, that's cool too. So we get like, I'm talking about Kori. I can see the club. You know what I mean? I can see the lights bright up in the sky. You know what I'm saying? Club Dream. This is my first time ever going here. Like lit up. All of a sudden, the car just whip over to the curb. You know what I mean? Whip over to the curb. They exchange a few words, and he got out the car. So I'm looking. I'm like, well, shit, we still got about 2 more blocks up to the joint. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Hastings looks around. She didn't say one word. But if you know what I mean, a kid, you got parents, you know what I mean? You know the look. She looked back and they're like, and I politely got up out the car. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is your stop, nigga. Like, don't this is your stop. You know what I mean? So my first encounter with Hastings, I never been put out of a car by a woman before. I never had no incidents where
And you had your luggage, so you had to get your suitcases and go.
No, I'm not finished. So she put us out the car. You know what I mean? I'm talking to my boy. I'm like, man, what's up with that dude, man? You know what I mean? They go through his spiel. I'm like, you do know she got my luggage. Like, she has to come back. You know what I mean? She's like, nah, she coming back. I'm like, dog, that didn't seem like she coming back or whatever. So we get inside the whole time. You know what I mean? I'm doing my thing. You know what I mean? That's some little chicks. You know, I'm doing my thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to put him on the game too, because I'm like, shit, the chick just put you out the car, bro. You shouldn't even be worried about her. You know what I'm saying? Come over here. You know what I'm saying? Do your thing. He like, nah, man. She gonna come back. She tripping, but she gonna come back. I'm like, nigga, she gotta come back. So hey, to her defense, she came back. She came back and she dropped us off at the airport or whatever. But that was my first and only time ever getting put out the car by a female, let alone that I'm not in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even dealing with. She put us out the car. And I still don't to this day know why she felt the need to put us out the car. You know,
I'm recording live tomorrow.
You were an accessory to the crime, but that was our first and only encounter until I came to the group in 2012.
But she, like years later, you know what I'm saying? Never like years later. And I'm telling you, we didn't have no conversation, Kori. It was like,
honestly, I'm not surprised. She didn't try to kick me out. I cried a couple times. No, I'm just kidding.
But anyway, Tinsley, thank you so much for joining us. The people want answers. He was an accessory to the crime. He had to go.
I'm gonna find out. I don't know if I'll be recording, but I'm gonna find out for me.
you know what I mean? And like
overtime, we've done a 2-15-minute show.
We love you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for helping us with our Hustle Clean predictions.
And just a reminder for you guys, Hustle Clean is a mission-driven self-care brand for active lifestyle. You can get their products nationwide in Walmart and Target, and it's an athlete and Black-owned business. So support. And if you want to support us, go to hustleclean.com and use the discount code TGS or Track Girl Summer, for 10% off all items or all products. Does that sound good? I was really like, good. Yeah.
Okay.
2 class for me.
We professional.
But thank you guys for joining us today. Be sure to follow us everywhere: Twitter, IG, Facebook. Follow Track Girl Summer on IG and YouTube and Twitter.
Hey, yo,
follow Tinsley. Drop your name.
Mr. Tinsley 1. You know what I mean? Check me out. I'm out here. You know what I'm saying?
If you wanted to see what the legend Edwin Moses is into, he's edwinc.moses on IG, Twitter, all the things, LinkedIn, because he's a professional. And make sure you come back to see, if Team Edwin Moses and Team Tasha and Mike Tinsley, who got it right for the 200 or 400 hurdles.
Right, I liking that 200.
And remember, no matter what time of the year it is, it's always Track Girl Summer, baby. So thanks for coming to our show. Shout out to World's Greatest, our producers, and that's it.
We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place.
Yes. Bye, Mike Tinsley. I'm gonna FaceTime you right now to find out what happened. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.